Today we're going to look at Valkyrie Profile Lenneth for the PSP. Now, when this game originally came out for the PlayStation 1, it flew under my RPG radar and I didn't find out about it until a few years later. By that time the game had become hard to find and used copies would sell for $80 or more. So when I found out that this game was coming out for the PSP, I rushed out to get it, even though I didn't own Sony's handheld at the time. Was it worth it? That's what we're about to find out.
The first thing I will say about this RPG is that it is very unique. There are many things in this game that are done differently from other games in the genre, and unfortunately, many aren't really explained too well. For that reason, I strongly recommend using a guide. Even if you don't need help with the game's mechanics, you're going to get stuck in a dungeon or two eventually. When you start off the game, you're given a choice of difficulty, and this is where the confusion begins. If you choose easy mode, you won't have access to all the characters, dungeons, and some great items, which actually makes the game much tougher. You also won't get to see the best ending. If you choose hard, the game will be much easier in the long run because you will get some amazing items.
See, we're only at the difficulty select screen and we already need extra help.
The story revolves around the Valkyrie Lenneth, who is tasked with finding warriors for Ragnarok by Lord Odin. She must travel down to Midgard to find these souls, train them, and then send them up to Asgard when they're ready. Each character, called Einherjar, have their own little story sequence to view before recruiting them, which are very interesting. There isn't much of the main story after the long intro though, just a brief wrap-up at the end of each chapter, and the rest is revealed at the end of the game. Even though there isn't much story, it's still pretty good, especially if you get the best ending. This is one of those games that has a time limit. There are 8 chapters to play through, and each chapter has a set number of periods within it, which varies based on the difficulty you choose. At the beginning of every chapter, Lenneth will have to use spiritual concentration to find new Einherjar and dungeons to strengthen them. Einherjar are found in towns, and entering a town uses up 1 period. Entering a dungeon burns up 2 periods, and time management is of major importance in this game. Another way this game is unique is its gameplay style. It is a 2D side-scrolling RPG, and that's something you don't see very often. You move Lenneth to the right or left, and can occasionally go up or down to go into a house, or deeper into a dungeon. There is also some platforming in the dungeons, which can get a little frustrating at times. The game controls well enough, it's just that you have to be very precise with jumps and timing. You won't die like in a traditional platformer if you fall, but you will take damage or fall to the area below. You'll also be able to make crystals, which can freeze enemies or be used as stepping stones. The combat is turn-based, but of course with its own distinct flavor. Each character in your party gets mapped to a face button, and will attack whenever you press that button. These attacks can be comboed with other characters for bigger damage, and if timed correctly it will fill the gauge to 100, which lets you do a special attack. These are called Purify Weird Souls, or PWS. These look spectacular and can do big damage to the enemy. You can button mash your way through battles, but you'll probably find that a lot of your attacks are missing or the enemy blocks them. By effectively timing your combos, you will defeat enemies quicker, gain more experience, and more items. The battle system is fantastic and almost as good as the Grandia games in my opinion. This game uses 2D sprites over pre-rendered backgrounds, and it looks gorgeous. Great art direction as well. The presentation could use some work though, especially the menu. Putting all the options at the top of the menu screen is not very intuitive and takes a while to get used to. You also cannot use the shoulder buttons to cycle through characters. Instead, you have to scroll all the way up to the character's name when you are done equipping them or whatever, and press left or right on the D-pad. Motoi Sakuraba composed the music for this one, and it's one of his better soundtracks. Lots of memorable tunes here, and I especially like the songs that play when Lenneth uses spiritual concentration. There are 3 possible endings to get in this one, and without using a guide, you're most likely to get ending B. Getting the best one, ending A, requires you to do some very specific things, and of course the game doesn't really provide any kind of hints. Getting the bad ending isn't obvious either, and requires you to work hard at playing the game poorly.
Valkyrie Profile Lenneth is a great game that can be a bit cryptic at times, and for that reason, it's not for everybody. RPG fans who are looking for something a little challenging and unique should definitely check this out though. And before wrapping this up, I just want to show you one of my favorite things about the game and about PSP collecting, is that you open it up, whoops, and you get this nice beautiful art in here. And you know, I know it adds nothing to the overall gameplay experience, but it's just something nice to have, and something that, you know, game companies don't have to do. Like, there's other games like this that are just plain on the inside. But anyways, that will do it for this one. And I want to thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you next time.